Good morning, friends. Just Christina here. It is Sunday, May 5th, and it's 10 in the morning. I thought we'd sit out here by the pond and give a recap of what we've gone over so far. So yesterday I was out in the yard finishing up the garden, and they sprayed very heavily all day yesterday, including into the night last night. And when I got up this morning, the sky just has this hazy, overcast look to it. It's supposed to be beautiful blue sky today, but it's got these white chemical wisps, aerosolized wisps. All right, so we're going to review what we've learned so far in The Mark is Ready, Are You? And this is a booklet that was written by Ron Steele, and it was put together making all of these correlations back in 1980. So he largely showcases Dr. Keith Farrell, and Keith Farrell was an agriculture professor at WSU, that's Washington State University in Pullman, Washington. He was a researcher, and he developed something called the laser tattoo system and Farrell's star. So essentially, Dr. Farrell developed a branding ID system, and he utilized three means of application. And the first was a freeze-dried mark, the second was just a branded mark, and the third, of course, was the implementation of his laser tattoo system, which he did on himself twice to prove that it worked. He basically scarred the tissue underneath the main tissue on his hand, and it stayed there permanently. So when you scanned it with a scanner, it was there, but you couldn't see it visibly on the surface layer of your skin, of your dermis. So moving on, the Los Alamos labs, and we're talking about Los Alamos in New Mexico, not California yet, okay? Alaska, transponders, RFID, and microwaves, they all tie together. And if you look back, so there were a couple of German researchers. They were psychology majors, and they both had law degrees. It was Robert and Ralph Schweizgebel, and they later changed their name to Gable. So it was Robert Gable, and then Ralph Schweizgebel changed his name to Kirkland Gable. And they had a patent on electronic monitors of criminals. So this all kind of went hand in hand back in the 60s, and they were developing these transponders, or these RFID chips. Now, just because the Schweizgebels had German ancestry, I know you're probably making that correlation of, oh, they're Hitler supporters. They were not Hitler supporters. They came here. They were American born. So his father, I believe, was the immigrant. And they do have German ancestry, but don't read anything into it yet, okay? So they had this grand idea of electronic rehabilitation and mind control of criminals and the monitors of criminals. And if you'd like the patent number that they hold on the monitor of criminals on electronics, it's 3,478,344. That's patent number 3478344. And that's held by Kirkland Gable and another gentleman. So the Los Alamos Labs was charged with the daunting task of implementing and studying these transponders with the use of microwave satellites. And these satellites, the Nimbus satellites, NIMBUS, they were implemented under the guise of weather satellites, but they actually were not. So I know for a fact that Nimbus 3 tracked elk, and later Nimbus 6 tracked polar bear. But I'm not exactly sure what the other numbers tracked right off the top of my head. They were trying to utilize these RFID transponders for porpoise, and they discovered that it could not travel underwater. So anytime an animal breached the surface of the water, it sent out a signal, but once it went back into the water, it was lost. So whether or not they've perfected that today, I don't know. So moving forward a little bit, the whole push to get rid of analog television and give everybody a digital converter box, that was essentially to free up the airwaves for the 5G system, for the microwave system. Because these RFID transponders need a microwave to invoke a response from it. And it doesn't send off a signal unless it's being pinged by this microwave. Well, the 5G towers are going to have microwaves being pinged at you 24/7. So all of your data that is stored in your RFID chips in your debit card, your credit cards, and your driver's license, because pretty soon we'll all be carrying new star cards, but right now all you have to do is scan the back of your driver's license. It's not just laminated paper anymore, you know? So all of these RFID chips will be emitting these response signals to the microwaves that are being pinged at them, and they'll be able to track you everywhere you go. And it's just simply because you'll be rolling from tower to tower. And the capacity of each tower to house the information from all of the people and all of the signals within its area, I think the part of the reason that they are so close together, especially in some more concentrated areas like downtown, you'll see them even closer. And I think that's just to accommodate more concentrations of people. Okay, so getting back to the Nimbus satellites, the Los Alamos labs, they started with the Nimbus satellites and they had these transponders, aka RFID chips. Well, they were also doing a different study at the same time, and it was for laser tracking. And what they would do is they would go up into an airplane and they would drop a bunch of flies out of the airplane, and they would use the lasers to hone in and track on the flies. And when they perfected that, they turned it over to a laboratory in Alaska. I'm not even kidding. So today we know this as DARPA headquarters, and those laser tracking systems were basically charged to the operation and use of DARPA headquarters in Alaska. And essentially, I think if you just look a little bit deeper with all of these patents, electronic rehabilitation and mind control, the fact that Dr. Farrell was mysteriously, I'm going to say, quote unquote, suicided and his information was stolen. There are government places now that boast that they have this technology and that they're able to do it already. RFID tracking systems people are willingly taking. And, you know, it's funny because everybody's saying that I will not take the mark in my hand or my forehead. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's already here. We already have it. You're already carrying it. It's in the form of your electronic money system, your tracking system, because ultimately it wasn't just people and animals that they were wanting to track. They were wanting to track and classify every moving thing on the planet. So if you moved, they wanted to know where you went. And this also comes in the form of automobiles, boats, airplanes. So it goes much deeper than just what is yet to come. It also encompasses and involves what is already here and what's been being built on for the past 30 or 40 years, if not 50. So thank you so much for joining me for this recap. That's where I'm going to stop it today. I hope you enjoyed this beautiful little view of my pond, and there's birds all around. This is what I spent yesterday doing, and it was a really great day. I hope you all have a really great day today. Just Christina signing out.